your homework, just start studying in greater detail how they was put together, and maybe you can try to recreate this on your own without looking at it. And if you get lost, just recreate it as a copy and try to do this on your own. I was saying things about the ranges, and the syntax of ranges is you have the minimum, the maximum, and then the increment, or you can replace the increment with a character number, and then this is the count. And if you put the character, it will be 5 items from the minimums to the maximum. If you remove the character, is the increment between the intervals. This is every 5 units. This is the total of 5 items between the minimum and the maximum. And then the other key point is that you can replace any of these values with a variable. The variable then becomes an input, and you have the ability to say, to declare variables using language. And each of them can become either a fixed value or a slider. And control drag to copy the sliders, and then you input this, and you can have all these different outputs. Is it clear about this? Just memorize that about the ranges with a character and without a character, and declaring variables. I want to show something in Dynamo that, Dynamo it responds to rules, but it displays the result of every rule in the whole graph. And if you notice here, there are a lot of overlapping geometry that you may not like. Like, if you just want to see the surface and freeze everything, the result of the code processing can be hidden if you select nodes and hide the display. And the way to do this is, I'm going to zoom out using the mouse wheel, and I'm going to select everything except the last node. You use a big window selection. And then you right-click and say hide all geometry preview. And now you're going to see that the nodes become this gray color. And the only thing that's visible is the final output. And so when you're doing your screenshots, that's exactly what you want to do. Highlight and then use the navigation and stay in like in an elevation or a 3D, and then do a screen capture. And you can do a screen capture using the screen capture tool out of Windows. The snipping tool, yep. Or if you prefer, you can notice that when you do that, it also hides the preview in Revit. We're going to move some geometry into Revit as well. That's going to be next. Or you can do incremental. We're telling the story, how it started. And then, for example, if I want to freeze, if I just want to display, let's say, the points, what I need to do is then hide the output, like freeze it. No, not freeze it. Preview. Hide the preview. And then if you just want to show the points, right-click on the points and display the preview. I only have the points. And you can selectively choose the whole story, right? All right, now I'm going to hide the points and display the planes. Preview, only the planes. Or if you want to just display the circles, right-click the circles, preview, and hide the circles, and now display just the polygons. And hide the polygons, and display just the surface. And so for each of those steps, make a screenshot to tell the story of your project. Right-click on the node. Remember, right-click or right-click in a wide selection of nodes. You do a window selection, right-click, hide all geometry preview. Okay, so we have half an hour, and I want to show list manipulations. And so, I mean, these are cone representations, but what if I want to do something that is more organic? What if I want, for example, make the lower part a circle, and then make it go to a smaller circle, then to a medium circle, and then to a top circle? If I want to start with a circle, then go to an ellipse, then go to a circle, and then go to an ellipse. And then each of the ellipses be rotated. We start thinking about design then. And so I want to start the discussion of list manipulation. So in this example, I have my height. I'm going to leave my height at 80. And hence, I'm going to have 9 points. And I'm going to go ahead and disconnect no, I'm going to leave everything as is. I'm going to disconnect this plane by origin normal. Just disconnect it. Everything's going to get lost. And okay, and so I have 8 points here, right? You have the same? And then I can say, okay, I'm going to have 3 geometrical forms. Actually 4. 1 at the bottom, 1 at the top, and then 2 in the middle. And so the first one and the last one is not a big issue. You just put 0. But then in order to have 2 intermediates, I need to have another one at item 3, and then another one at item 6. It's weird because I have 9 items, and if I do it every 3, it will be 0, 3, 6, and 9. Right. So I need basically be able to select item 0, item 3, item 6, and item 9. So I need to start manipulating the list to extract certain objects. So design a script enabled me to select, let's do it first with the node. I think there's something called list item. If I look at the list, if you look at the, let me give you a tip. When you're searching for elements, for example, I call lists. This is the name of the node, and then right at the bottom is the collection it belongs to. So if you click on, and it's actually a hyperlink. If you click on the collection, it's going to give me the parent view of all the library this node belongs to. And so these are things that you can, these are ways to create a list, and these are ways to modify the list. Like there's a lot of ways of modifying lists. And so there's one that is called there's one that is called the last item, and that's going to take the last item of the list. And just to test it, you see, if you go to this and you click last item, this is going to give me the last item in this list of points. I'm going to remove, I'm going to leave this maybe on a side so that you remember. I mean, these may be notes that you're going to need. There's also the first item. So if you just type first, and the first item, if you connect it to the list of points, you give me the very first point. And so I'm going to unhide, I'm going to show the preview of the point by coordinates. And so in this output is the very first item, and this item is the last item. Now disconnected. There's other things called chop. And chop, what it does, it subdivides the list by sublist. For example, I can say, hey, this list of 9 items converted in 4 lists of 3 items. So if you type 3 here, actually it's not going to be 4 items, it's going to be 3 lists. 3 lists of 3 items. So now I have 3 different lists, and each of these lists you can actually associate different things. For example, you can say the first 3 floors are going to have one shape. The next 3 items are going to have another shape, and the next 3 items are going to have another shape. Does that make sense? So I'm going to remove that. And then there's this one. This was very useful. It's called get item and index. And the index is the identification of the element in the list that contain its position. For example, if I want to get item 3, you just type connect the list and type number 3. And so out of this list, I'm getting item number 3. So I'm getting the point in the position number 3 in this list. Does that make sense? So if I want to get items 0, 3, 6, and 9, I actually need to have in this index a list. And so how do I create a list of items? I'll show you. There's this list create, if you see here, list create. A list create, it's a way to create a list of items. And so if you see this plus sign here, enable me to create multiple items. And I can say, I can add for every item a code block. You can say item 0, item 3, or I can use the same code block. Like you don't have to use multiple code blocks. You can just say 0, return 3, return 6, return 9, return. Yeah, in order to end the design script. Design script always ends with a semicolon. And then you connect each of the items. And I have a list 0, 3, 6, and 9. And then I plug this into the index, like list get item and index. And notice that I don't have item 9. I have an item 8. So I actually need 10 items. And if I want to increase this to 10, I need to increase the height. Let's do this to 90.
Shouldn't it be like 0 to 0 to?
I want it to be equal, so it has to be either 8, 0, 2, 4, 6, 8. I want it to be 3, so 0, 3, 6, and 9. So that's but I don't have item number 9. And so what I did is I increased the height to 90. And now I do have item 9. It will be 0, 3, 6, and 9. And now I have the list of 4 points here. Does that make sense? Get item and index enable me to select a specific elements based on its relative location in the list. And this is based on the key. This number in gray is the key, and this is the list of keys. Another way of creating a list is using code block. You can decide using a list using node, but code block is pretty simple. You just start curly brackets, and you say 0, 3, 6, 9, and close curly brackets. Make sure you use commas. And I got exactly the same result. So there are many different ways to do the same thing. And this is going to give you exactly the same result. 0, 3, 6, and 9. Yeah, you get like if my number of floors were a lot. Like I'm not going to be automatically doing this, right? So that's the right thought. You need to think about parametric, how to make this parametric. And so the other node, there's a node called the take items every n. is take every n item. And what this is going to do is look at the list and just give me every second, every third, every fourth, every fifth. You tell the n value. And so, again, I'm just putting on the side. You have a list of points. And what's n? What do you think? So what this is going to do is going to apply a formula and take every first, and you decide every 2 items, every 3 items, every 4 items. And in this example, what is n? What is our number? N will be 3. With every 3 items, I'm going to get an item. Right? And so if I take this 3, I get 3 elements. 0, 0, 1, 2, 3. The next one is 50. Why is that? Take every... He didn't take 1, 2, 3. He didn't take the first one, right? And that's
it makes sense. When you try to the point, the number 3 is
20.
Yeah. So the number 6 is
Correct. But if I want to take the very first one, I think I need to give it an offset. And the offset is going to be -2. So you see what I'm doing? So I'm picking the third item, but then I'm offsetting it 2 to get to the first one. Now I have 4 items. The first, the third, the 6th, and the 9th. So to make it a little bit clear, we're going to use letters. A, B, C, D, E, F. We have 6 items here. If I say take every n, n is 3. I'm going to start 1, 2, 3. I'm going to pick this item. Then 1, 2, 3. Then I'm going to pick that item. And I'm going to get in my list C. But that's not what I want. What I want is A, C, and E. And so what I need to tell Dynamo is, okay, to get to A, you need to subtract 2 items in that direction. So that is -2. So the script is going to subtract 2 items, and then I'm going to get A, B, C. Actually, I'm going to take D here. D, and F. Okay, so. Alright. Yeah, okay. It reduces the count by 2 in order to take the very first one. And that's what I want. I want an item 0, 1, 2, And so this is more parametric rather than doing it one by one.
Also, it's like we just put it one and it comes to the offset also instead of
Minus 2. Does it pick the first one?
yeah,
I guess it has the same effect. Yeah, because it's shifting everything by 1.
but the you can see the first one, all you can
Because what it's doing is shifting n by 1. Okay. So you're going to pick B, but you need 3 items. So like this. Now you're going to pick A in the very first one. You can either shift it 1 forward or 2 backward.
okay, I understand this way.
And so the count doesn't matter. It's the node is always going to take those values. And then I can use those points to have in every a different geometry. So are you with me here? Do you have this node? Take item every n item. Because now I'm going to use those points to create the planes. Actually, no. I'm going to use the plane for all of them. And I'm going to use those points to create the circles. So this is how I need to modify it. Rather than picking the points, I'm going to select the planes. So rather than picking the point by coordinates, I'm going to select the planes in the list. And now I have only 4 planes, and I have only 4 circles. So, but I want to have a different shape for every circle, for every plane. So I'm going to disconnect the radius here. And I need a list of 4 radiuses. And again, you can build a list. And I have 4 planes. I need a list of 4 different radiuses. And one way of doing this is, again, using your list. I'm going to say 10, 30, 15, and 36. No, let's say 60. And I plug this, and I have a flower. I mean, this could be our building. I mean, you can choose, right? Is this so circle by plane radius? I give it 4 radiuses, and then I connect. Rather, the list take and every item is connected to the planes. It's not connected to the points. You with me? Oh, you need a comma. Okay, but that's 3,000. There you go. Are you with me? Okay, but now we have exactly the same problem that Pat was saying. What if my count is not 4? Then I have to manually place this input there. What if my count was 5 or my count was 8? There are ways to make the script feel good value for us. We can. So we can do this actually randomly. But we can tell rather, and I'll give you what's the problem. The problem is if I increase the height, let's say I duplicate this to more, I have more planes in the upper side, and they are not receiving any shape because the circle is limited to 4 radiuses. So, and I have 7 planes, but I only have 4 radiuses, right? And so the question is, how can I modify the script so that the radiuses are filled out automatically? Okay, let's try something that is called random. So if you right-click and call random, there are different types of randoms. There's one called random number. Do you find that? If you call a random number, and I think this is not out of the box. This is part of the, let's find it. It's sequence. It's by Lunchbox. Yeah, it has to be by Lunchbox. So if you go to Lunchbox, you're going to find the random numbers form. And what I like about this is that you say, okay, the minimum radius is going to be 1. The maximum is going to be another one. And this is the number of items that needs to be randomized. And I think seed is the starting value, I guess. So let's say, what do you want your minimum radius to be? Let's say 10. So in a code block, you just type 10. Then do a colon, enter. Then the maximum radius, let's make it 50. And then let's plug this to the minimum. Let's plug this to the maximum. The number is the count. The count of items that needs a minimum and a maximum. And this is coming from the number of planes. So in this example, I have 7 planes. And what's the node to extract number 7? This guy here. Last item is the last item in the list. This is the count. Correct. So search for count. And that way the count can be anything. And the number and I think the seed is the seed I think is what is the minimum you're willing to accept between items. For example, in a random number, you can have 10 and 11, right? And that's very little buffer. So if I give it a seed of, I don't know, 3 or 4, so now I have 7 random numbers, but you see they are not close to each other by 4. Like you're not going to find, actually no, you see 10 and 12. I don't really know what seed is. Random seed value. If I say to 1. Not sure what this is, but needs an integer. I'll find out for you what the seed is. Let's leave this at 1. Okay, you with me here? What do I need to do next? Plug the numbers to the radius. I need to plug the numbers to the radius. And now I have what I was looking for. And so every time you change the height, it's going to create a new random set of numbers. And you're going to have infinite options. So and it's all based on the radiuses. And you know the seeds, let's try an integer slider. If you go to integer slider, and plug the integer slider into the seed, I think this is gonna like reshuffle the numbers for every change. So change this here, and then I change the integer slider. Yeah, for every, that's what it is. For every seed that I change, I get a completely different shape. That makes sense? Like infinite possibilities based on the randomness. And you may want to start thinking about this when you're deciding what shape to use. Okay, save it and save this. It's 10 o'clock already. Notice how in Revit I'm starting to see something. In the next class, I'm going to show you how to bake the results of this script into Revit. We're going to divide the surface into rationalized panels, and we're going to add rotation, and we're going to add adaptive components into the surface and the attractor. So your homework is take this script to your home and try to do it yourself without help. Like, try to imagine you're doing this from scratch. And try to think about what you can change to make it yours. So I want each of you to choose a floor plate and a method of doing the same. That makes sense? I'm not going to grade that, but it's your homework so that next class we have something to discuss. Okay, good. So save the script, take it home, or come here and work on your own. Install the pack. If you're in a remote location, install the packages. I'm going to post this video tomorrow in the YouTube channel. If you look for me on YouTube, Cesar Escalante, it's a single channel for me and subscribe. Give me likes too. Okay. I guess you are set. And I'm going to stop the screen and finish.